Hello and welcome to the first episode of Upgrade to General. This is a series of podcasts that I'm making to help people upgrade their amateur radio license from technician to general class. Let's get into it. So who's this for and why am I doing this series? Well, my son is trying to upgrade his amateur radio license, and he mentioned to me that he has lots of time to listen while he's on the job. He can listen to podcasts, but doesn't have a lot of time to read or to watch videos. And there's a lot of videos out there. There's a lot of great books to help people upgrade. But he was having trouble finding a series of podcasts. So I thought, well, why don't I just make a series? So I was inspired by my son, but I also teach high school students electronics and help them get into amateur radio. So I thought I'll help my students have a resource that they can also use to upgrade their licenses. And I hope that this is helpful for anyone else who's a technician looking to upgrade to general as well. So the format of this series, we're going to do a Q&A type format first. The questions are all posted online, the actual test questions. They come from a large pool of questions, each test. So I'm going to go over each question and answer, and as we go, explain the topics as part of that Q&A. So topics is needed from the questions. Then after this introduction episode, each sub-element question group will be a separate episode. And at the end I'll tack on another episode of things that are not necessarily on the test, but things that are good to know, things that will help you become a better general class amateur radio operator. So who am I and what are my qualifications to teach this? So I've been involved in ham radio for the past 39 years. I was first licensed when I was 14 years old as a novice class. My call sign was KA7SJG, Kilo Alpha 7 Sierra Juliet Golf. Now back then there was novice, then technician, then general, then advanced, then extra class. The commission since has changed that. Now there's just technician, general, and extra. But I got licensed as a novice first, and back then I had to learn Morse code, and I am so grateful. My dad was a ham radio operator, he got me into ham radio, and I'm so grateful for him for teaching me the Morse code. And it is fabulous. It's my favorite mode. I always come back to it. I always love it. I love trying new things, but CW, or Morse code, is, as we call it, is still my favorite. So I upgraded within that first year of having my license to a general class and then to extra. When I got my general class, I changed my call sign to N7GOA, November 7 Golf Oscar Alpha, and stuck with that for years, although just this last year I decided I wanted a call sign that reflected that I'm an extra class. It used to be that the 1x3 call signs, one letter, a number, and then 3 more letters that represented a general class. I could have gotten an extra class 1x2 or 2x1 call sign when I first got my extra, but I never did, and looking back, kind of wish I had. So just this last year I decided that I'm going to change my call sign. My new call sign was a vanity call sign that I selected, Kilo Echo 7 Charlie Romeo, KE7CR. And I like it. It sounds good on both voice and CW, and it's fairly short. It also represents kind of an extra class now, since the 2x2 call signs, a lot of extra class operators have those as well. So I finally made the switch, and I've enjoyed all kinds of operating, different modes, some digital modes, again CW, voice modes, single sideband. I've done VHF, UHF, satellite work, done some low power QRP or low power operating, portable, done some fox hunting or hidden transmitter finding, setting up different kinds of antennas. Not that I'm a ham radio expert, and I don't think there is a ham radio expert that's an expert in all aspects of ham radio. There are just so many different things to get involved with. But that's a little bit of my background and where I'm coming from. I also teach electronics to high school students and have for the past 15 years or so. I'm not an engineer. I'm not an electrical engineer or any kind of an engineer. I'm a teacher by profession and have been for my whole career. Started teaching electronics to students about 15 years ago, and even in that short time to see how rapidly the field is changing is amazing to me. And I get my students involved in amateur radio as a way to help them learn electronics, wireless technology, and it's a fantastic hobby to get involved in. There's always something new to try. As the world changes and technology changes, it's great because there's always the new cutting edge technology. There's also the vintage stuff that we still need to understand. So I wanted my students, who a lot of them get licensed as technicians, wanted to do this podcast series to help them have the resource they need to upgrade to general class. So what do you need to succeed? You need some study time. Really doesn't take all that much. You spend a few minutes a day going over some of these podcasts, doing some of the practice tests. 10 minutes a day would easily get you there in almost no time. Next, you need to take practice tests, and there are several great online test study sites to go to. Let me show you a couple I recommend. This is probably my favorite one. It's hamstudy.org. Go to hamstudy.org and then you can register for free. Once you've registered, you can just log in. And then you can click on whichever level of exam you're going to take. We're going to be doing the Element 3 General Class. So here we go. I can click on that. You can read all the questions. You can do practice tests. You can have a study mode where it explains things to you. Practice tests, once you get an account, it'll keep track of your scores on previous tests, what sections you're doing well on, and which sections you're not doing well on. So I'd recommend that. Another resource is the ARRL's exam review. So if you go to arrlexamreview.appspot.com, you can create an account there as well, sign up for an account. Once you do, you just log in and then go to review for an exam or take a practice exam. You can even print these ones out and do it on paper if you want. So you do need to spend some time doing these practice exams. I also recommend the book. This book, the General Class License Manual. It's published by the ARRL. You can get on the arrl.org and search for it. You can buy it there. It's not necessary. Strictly speaking, you can get just the question and answers all online, but it provides so much background information that can help you be a way better operator. So I'd recommend that. Now, the schedule of the episodes. I'm going to do a podcast for each sub-element and question group. The test has 35 questions. Passing is 74%, or 26 out of those 35 questions. They're required to take a question out of each question group. For example, sub-element G1 has 5 questions, one from each question group. So I'll do a separate podcast for each question group. So that'll be 5 podcasts. Operating procedures, another 5 podcasts. Radio wave propagation, 3 podcasts. And on it goes. So you see amateur radio practices, electrical principles, circuit components, then practical circuits, signals and emissions, antennas and feed lines, and then the last, electrical and RF safety. Again, 74% correct is needed to pass the exam. That's 26 out of 35 questions. And then after that, at the very end, I'll include one last podcast, hints and helps for being a great operator. Things that may not be on the exam, but things that will help you to enjoy the hobby more. So let's jump into it with the first podcast.